Coming to you from a studio somewhere out there, it's Enough Already Radio with Fingers Malloy and Tracy O'Connor.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is the Enough Already podcast. My name is Fingers Malloy. Tracy L. Connors, the co-host of this fine podcast, is here as well. Hello, Tracy.
Hello, Fingers.
I'm really hurting today.
What'd you do to yourself now?
I went drinking last night with some folks. Bill O'Reilly calls them the folks.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and we went to a brewery in Kokomo, Indiana.
Wow,
Kokomo.
That sounds like a really exciting place.
It is.
Didn't the Beach Boys sing about that?
I was going to say, yeah. Whenever I drive into Kokomo, I live about 50 miles from Kokomo. That stupid song goes through my head. And talk about one of the worst songs in the history of songs. Like, I would rather listen to Hey Soul Sister on a loop than have to listen to Kokomo once.
I know, and the shame is that's when I was first exposed to the Beach Boys, I think.
Oh, that's too bad.
That song, yeah.
And they played, when that first came out, and it was probably what the late 80s when Kokomo came out.
I'll Google it. Keep talking.
I mean, you were like 2 when that came out.
No.
But for the rest of us that are old, every half hour, it was like the Macarena.
1989.
Yeah. So look at me, my music history. But they would play it every half hour. It's like, holy shit, do I really need to hear Kokomo again? Are people calling the radio station saying, listen, you just played it 20 minutes ago, but I can't get enough Kokomo. Will you play it one more time for me? Please? So to have to drive into that town and hear that in my head, it's really why I avoid Kokomo altogether, because of that song. So screw you, Beach Boys. But it's a nice little town, and they had a brewery there, and I don't know if I mentioned this last week, but I started the Atkins diet again.
No, you did not mention it last week.
So I started the Atkins diet again. I ate 18, I'm guessing, maybe a little less than 18 wings. That was all I ate yesterday. But then I had beer.
For you. You had beer?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, I had beer. I was like, oh my God, I've been on Atkins all week. I gotta have a little something.
This is not how it works.
Well, the problem is I was 50 miles away from home and I drove. So normally I would drink bourbon.
Right.
And
it's better to have wine than beer.
Oh, good God.
I know.
Ugh.
Or you could just not drink.
Well, now you're just talking crazy talk.
I don't know. You and I vary in our discipline levels.
That's true. I had some beer there, and then I got home and I had a lot more beer. But I'm drinking
Guinness. You didn't switch to whiskey when you're home.
No, I had Guinness, and Guinness doesn't have it's not packed with carbs.
Oh, okay.
So I woke up today. Are you like this when you've had too much to drink the night before? If you wake up at all during the night, it's really hard to get back to sleep.
No.
Oh, you're lucky. I fell asleep in the chair.
Okay.
And then I made it upstairs, and I would wake up every hour, and it would take me a half hour to get back to sleep. So I'm feeling fantastic right now.
Yeah, total carbs in a Guinness is 18.2 grams.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, that's disappointing.
No fiber, so there's no cancellation of any of that.
Oh, I thought it was.
Yeah, so that's your entire day's worth of carbs in one of those. But don't use that to justify now going off the diet.
Yeah, you know me too well, because
I know.
That's why I'm like, oh, screw it.
Right.
Today I can eat a pizza.
Yep, and that's how it all ends.
But I'm down 9 pounds in a week.
Uh-huh.
Which I know that sounds a lot to some people, but when you're starting off a hot pocket away from 300 pounds, 9 pounds isn't all that much.
All right. Well, we're going to hold you to this now.
Okay.
Everybody has to annoy fingers. And what did you eat today?
I'm drinking this awful soda that I bought. You know that carbonated water, the LaCroix or something like that?
LaCroix.
LaCroix, is that what it is? Okay.
I don't know how to pronounce it.
But,
yeah.
And it's always like, oh, with a splash of raspberry or a splash of whatever kind of fruit, and it tastes like a splash of shit.
Mm-hmm.
I got the generic alternative at the grocery store, blood orange, and it's got no carbs, no sugar.
And it doesn't taste good at all.
Oh, it tastes like seltzer water by itself, and like maybe someone threw a full orange in your glass and then plucked it right out, didn't squeeze it or anything. So it's like, oh, is there? Oh, maybe someone threw an orange in here, but nobody squeezed it. So
why don't you stop drinking it?
Am I gonna drink regular water? Am I an animal? Who does that?
I do.
How much water do you drink a day?
Probably a gallon.
Oh, good God. Are you just on the toilet constantly?
Yeah.
Just peeing all the time?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. That's no way to spend the weekend.
At least I didn't go to Kokomo.
But, no, you do this diet or something like it. And
I've been doing it for the past 3-something months.
And do you feel better?
Yes, I do.
It just sounds like a big pain in the ass. The stuff you do, I want to do that stuff, like make my own donuts.
Mm-hmm.
But who has the time? They make donuts down the street.
It doesn't take that long, but the donuts they make down the street have tons of carbs.
I know.
It really doesn't take very long. It takes about 10 minutes to put them together, and then you just have to bake them.
Oh, but who has the time?
I do. People that make the time. Yeah.
Ah, you're killing me.
You don't waste 10 minutes in a day.
My schedule's packed.
Yes.
Sometimes it takes me 2 days to edit this podcast. And all I do is put the beginning and ending music in it. It takes me forever. I actually do put more work into it than that. Just so you know. No, like last week when we played that audio of the crazy lady, the 65,000 text message lady.
Yes.
For some reason, it was really low, and I had to mess with the audio levels, and it took some time because I'm not a professional audio engineer.
No.
Right? Surprising. Yeah. But 10 minutes. Okay. So it takes 10 minutes to make. Are these vanilla donuts? Are they chocolate donuts? Do they have sprinkles?
The original recipe is for chocolate donuts, but I've substituted peanut butter powder for cocoa powder and turned them into peanut butter donuts.
But how do you eat them without milk?
I just eat them.
Oh.
I mean, you can have almond milk, you know. Oh. I have some in the fridge. I haven't tried it yet.
I've used almond milk, and I do enjoy almond milk in my NutriBullet.
Mm-hmm.
But I have never poured myself a
glass
frosty mug filled with.
Well, you could go with
milk.
With the fake milkshake, the diet root beer, and a little bit of heavy cream.
Oh, that's the best.
It's a good substitute for that.
Yeah, so have a well, at least have a root beer float and
a donut or two.
And a donut for Dunkin'.
Yeah.
Speaking of Dunkin' Donuts,
I
don't know what we're going to talk about today.
Okay.
And if you put stories in the doc, I apologize for not seeing them. I looked earlier this morning. I didn't see anything.
Well, you didn't look at the right document then.
Oh. Well,
tons loaded up in there.
Oh, great. Okay. I wanted to bring up the story about the woman in Canada. Did you see this at the Tim Hortons?
I heard you talk about it on Tony Katz's show.
Oh, well, I wanted to bring it up on this show because, you know.
You're only doing one round of prep.
I do 3 shows now, Tracy.
Yeah, I know.
It's crazy. Well, damn, now I feel bad. I looked this morning and I thought that.
Nope. You weren't wearing your glasses.
Well, again, I was foggy in the port. But this woman in Canada went to Tim Hortons. Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with Tim Hortons?
I've been in a Tim Hortons.
Oh.
They have them in Detroit.
Yes. It's Canadian based, but they're filtered. They're making their way through the United States, in Michigan, and we're getting some here in Indiana. She was not happy because the restaurant staff at Tim Hortons would not let her use the bathroom.
This is becoming a theme, huh?
Yeah, it's a thing now. So she got so upset, she dropped trow and she shat all over the floor.
Oh. Okay. That seems like a reasonable response.
Right?
Well, if you really have to... I mean, was it an emergency?
Apparently.
Well, she proved a point.
Right?
Yeah.
It was all on camera. So then she picks it up and she throws it at them.
Nice.
What? Dare I say like an animal?
Yes.
And after that, she grabs their napkins, wipes her hands, and then throws the napkins at them.
Oh.
It's all on videotape.
That's so revolting. And I'm sure they had to shut down the restaurant.
Oh, of course.
Ugh,
I hope they
hazmat team.
Yeah, I hope they boiled the door and the floor.
They should just light it on fire.
Right? I mean, what do you do at that point?
Ugh.
I mean, because she threw it. I mean, God only knows. Like 2 years from now, if they're like moving something, oh, that looks like shit behind this machine. Oh, it really is shit. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
So
that's extreme.
Yeah. So, and it's all caught on surveillance film, so it's all in black and white, which makes it even look more bizarre.
Oof.
Yeah. So, check that out.
The video I found is color.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Did Ted Turner colorize the video?
I don't know. Huh.
Are you watching it now?
I'm going to stop watching it because I don't want to see it. But so it happened in British Columbia, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. I was wondering if it happened. When I heard it, I'm like, oh, I wonder if it was in Detroit.
Well, I wondered how she pulled it off.
What do you mean?
I was like, okay, did she pull her pants down to her ankles?
Oh, you didn't watch it either?
Oh, no. Before, when I heard about it, I thought, how did she do this without really making a mess on her clothes? And then I saw the video. I was like, oh, okay. She stood like 2 feet from a wall and then fell backwards into the wall. So she was like leaning against the wall and her feet were 2 feet ahead of her. And then she
support.
Yeah. And then she did her business and then threw it.
And she looks like a normal person.
Right.
Like you'd think this would be some kind of like a crazy homeless sort.
Yeah.
No, she looks like a soccer mom.
Oh my gosh. So I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention.
Wow.
Because there were a lot of people this week who were out of control. Did you hear about the unruly passenger in Florida trying to fly back to Michigan?
No.
He was drunk.
Mm-hmm.
And so the flight attendants moved him to a seat where they could keep an eye on him.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting ready to do their little safety skit, where they tell you about where the emergency exits are and how to use the life vest. And he swiped the life vest and he ran in the bathroom and he put it in the toilet. So for some reason they didn't know who did it at first, and he fessed up and said, okay, I did it, it's in the toilet. And they had already left the gate. They had to turn the plane around to get a new life vest do the demonstration.
God.
The flight was delayed 90 minutes. They escorted this guy off the plane. Did not get arrested. Allegiant booked him on a later flight.
Oh, wow.
It's like, how do you get... What does it take for a man to get arrested in Florida? He took the life jacket and stuffed it in the plane's toilet. Delayed the plane 90 minutes. Doesn't get arrested. He was drunk.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like a typical day in Florida, you know?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, let's go to some of the stories you pulled.
All right. I get to start anywhere I want, huh?
Yeah. Knock yourself out.
Awesome. Well, I found an interesting piece over at the Conservative Treehouse that goes over what this Inspector General's report is. You know, the long-awaited Inspector General's report that IG Horowitz has been working on this whole time. And I think a fun thing to remember about all of this is that this is a result of the Democrats bitching about how the FBI handled Hillary during the 2016 election. Because remember, Jim Comey tanked her.
Right. That's the reason why she lost.
100%. Yeah.
That and Russian meddling.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So this week, what happened is Michael Horowitz submitted the draft report of this OIG investigation to the principals involved. So this IG investigation encompasses the FBI and DOJ conduct during the 2015-2016 Hillary Clinton investigation. And this report encompasses all the findings. So what happens now is they've turned over this report to all the principals who are named in it. And then they get to submit comments. And they were told, get your comments in by the end of the week, right? So the only people that get to see this, so here from this Conservative Treehouse piece, the IG, it gets to go to the FBI, the DOJ, and then anybody that's named in it. But people that are no longer in office don't get to see it, which is kind of interesting. So the first draft is reviewed internally. Then only the principal officers who are currently inside the investigated agencies get to see it. Those officials must sign comprehensive non-disclosure agreements subject to criminal prosecution if they violate the NDA.
Okay, go ahead.
So former officials or employees who have left their agencies, Jim Comey, Andrew McCabe, Lisa Page, James Baker, Jim Rybecki, Michael Corton, and all the officials who have left the FBI will not get to see the draft report. The same IG rules of draft report distribution apply to the main justice side of the DOJ. So Loretta Lynch, Sally Yates, Mary McCord, David Loffman, etc. do not get to see this report. Attorney General Jeff Sessions and Assistant Attorney General Rod Rosenstein will review the draft report and control who they allow to review it. So on the FBI side, Christopher Wray will review the draft report along with Assistant FBI Director David Bowditch if approved. Likely FBI Chief Legal Counsel Dana, I can't pronounce her last name, so I won't try, the former head of the DOJ NSD will also review it. So the IG report does not include criminal referrals. The final IG report is a statement of facts, and the IG report only provides the facts to decision-making leadership, who then decide what to do with those. However, if the IG discovers evidence of unlawful or illegal activity during the course of his or her investigation, the IG has a legal and ethical responsibility to tell the head of DOJ immediately. So, which is kind of interesting, right? So they have no prosecutorial authority. He can just say, hey, I found some shady shit, right?
Well, in the report, okay, they state what they found in the investigation, but can they recommend anything, or is it just, no, this is what happened?
No, and they break it down in this article too. So he said, the final IG report is a statement of fact. The draft review, which is just what went out this week, contains all of the statements of fact and allows investigated parties an opportunity to provide input toward any fact statement within the draft. Prior to the draft review, there is a massively exhaustive reference check undertaken by the IG referencer. The referencer could be a person or a group of people depending on the size of the report. So the referencer has the responsibility for going through every statement of fact and providing the citation or footnote for the assertion. The persons doing the reference review have the most arduous of tasks. So every sentence, every assertion is checked by this person, and they ensure that only provable facts with citations are part of this report. So that's insane to me, like the fine-tooth comb level of this. So
you see why it takes so long to release something like this.
Right, right. And they said, remember, the final IG report is an assembled outline of facts. The final IG report will not include opinion, motive, or intent from the report author. All outlined opinions, motives, and intentions within the IG report are those drawn from the statements of people and groups investigated. So that's what they're doing right now. They've sent this out to everybody who's still working in the government that's named in this for them to provide any feedback. And they gave them, I believe they said, you get till the end of the week to read this and give us back what you think. So they're thinking that this will be out in the next month or so, the full IG report with everybody's responses. And I love the fact that Comey doesn't get to see it, Loretta Lynch doesn't get to see it, none of those people get to see it.
But you don't think they're getting, people aren't leaking, at least
I'm
to
sure
them?
They are.
I mean, but that's what surprises me.
It's a felony to leak this, right?
Oh, sure, but then you have to rely on the Department of Justice to pursue charges on anyone who would leak that.
Right. Well, here's the other important thing. So, like we were saying, the IG can't do anything to prosecute these or go further with it. Jeff Sessions appointed a U.S. attorney named John Huber to join IG Horowitz toward the end of last year. This federal attorney, Huber, then constructs a parallel investigation based on the evidence that the IG has discovered, meaning of illegal activity. As with all criminal prosecutions, prosecutor John Huber would then firewall the IG from his own expanded criminal investigation. So they're running parallel investigations right now. Oh, it's insane. So they said they could interview the same subjects and sometimes in rare instances simultaneously. But
Well,
Huber would not share his criminal investigative review or evidence with Horowitz.
what a waste.
What?
Having both of them both of them running parallel investigations at the same time.
Well, one is supposed to just be going after facts, right? And then the other one is acting as an attorney to prosecute on behalf of the government. So one's playing detective and the other is playing. It's like Law and Order Fingers, which I'm sure you've never seen.
Is that a movie?
Yeah. It's probably one of the longest running serial dramas.
I know.
History.
Dun dun.
Yeah.
Yes, I know.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been speculated that he already has a grand jury seated and is presenting evidence, this Huber gentleman. So there are two different IG investigations going on right now. One is to this Clinton and how the FBI and DOJ handled the email stuff. And then the other one that was started afterwards is investigating what was going on with the Trump campaign and the FISA warrants and the spying and all this kind of stuff. So that's not expected to come out until later this summer, that report. But I heard an interesting thing being said by Mr. Mark Penn. Are you familiar with him, Fingers?
Name sounds familiar, but...
He worked for the Clintons.
Yeah.
And he and Doug Schoen, they co-founded a polling firm. And during the 2008 election, Mr. Mark Penn was Hillary's pollster. So not a friendly, right? Mm-hmm. I saw him on Fox Business the other morning when my favorite cartoon show was at a commercial. It's true. I flipped over. I'm like, I don't know what the rest of the morning news talks about. Oh, they talk about real serious things. It's kind of funny. So he said, if the IG basically blasts Comey as someone who either committed violations or led this thing in the wrong way, talking about the Clinton side of it, then Mueller can't use him as a witness. And that blows up the obstruction case against the president 100%.
I find it hard to believe that will happen.
That they'll find that Comey did anything wrong?
I find it hard to believe that they'll put that in print.
I don't. If this is a fact-finding mission...
Yeah, but if the people who are coming up with the facts and the fact checkers over there are libs... I want to believe that we are still a country that has people in there that in the government that is interested in the truth and the law. But look, over the past 12 years, and even longer than that, but the last 12 years, it's clear that that's not the case. That they've used government agencies that we thought would be nonpartisan in partisan ways. Mm-hmm. So while I would love to believe that if there is evidence that Comey is shady, and we all believe that he is, I would love to believe that would be in the report. But
well, think about the evidence of that's in the public record already. This is why I think that they can't just push the stuff under the rug, because it's public knowledge at this point. It's been reported. And Andy McCarthy had a great piece. It was called "In Politicized Justice, Desperate Times Call for Disparate Measures." And he talks about how the FBI and DOJ went after Trump, the FBI and the intelligence agencies went after Trump versus how the FBI and the DOJ went after Clinton. Mm-hmm. And you forget all of this stuff, gets lost in the fog, them destroying their damn phones.
Right.
And how they allowed Cheryl Mills and one other woman, I think her name was Heather something, to hide behind attorney-client privilege and not be interviewed. They were allowed to skip out on interviews because they were Hillary's lawyers. And he's like, this is not how it works. Like, there are federal laws that say no. So that's got to be looked at and scrutinized by this IG. Why were they granted that privilege? They sat in on the interview with her in the FBI. Why wasn't that interview recorded? Why had Comey already decided what he was going to do?
The whole thing's disgusting, but they know that they've got allies in the mainstream media that won't press anyone in the federal government on any of this stuff. I mean, just look at how dishonest the reporting was this week over President Trump's comments about MS-13.
Right, but my point is with this IG thing is if they overlook these things, it's a glaring omission. And I don't think if they turn that over to Jeff Sessions and these kind of things aren't documented, like McCarthy points this out, which I didn't know. He says, speaking of lying to the FBI, Mrs. Clinton, during the brief interview the FBI conducted after Director Comey's speech exonerating her was already written, she told agents she didn't know what the designation C in classified documents meant. Did you know that she said that? If I did, I had forgotten.
I think we talked about that at one point, but like you said, it's so easy. There's so much of this stuff.
Yeah.
It's easy to forget it.
She claimed to have assumed it might have had something to do with putting paragraphs in alphabetical order, notwithstanding the absence of an A, B, or D.
It's stunning to me. I mean, you just brought it up a little while ago. I've had several cell phones in my life. I never smashed them with a hammer to destroy them after I was done with them. That's never happened. I don't know anyone who has done. Have you ever smashed one of your cell phones with a hammer?
No.
Like, oh, doesn't everybody do that?
No, and multiple cell phones with hammers.
Yeah.
And all those people were given immunity and got away with it. So, and they never turned over the server. So I don't know how, they're still pushing forward the DNC on their stupid lawsuit against the Russians. It's like, how are you ever going to prove that?
Yeah.
The hacking. You can't. You never turned that over to a government agency to be vetted. You had your own internal little audit done by CrowdStrike. But, yeah.
Wow. Well, we'll see.
It's amazing. It's totally amazing.
I'm surprised, at none of these drafts, the first draft of this report, I'm surprised that wasn't leaked somewhere.
Well, maybe they do it like when I worked on M. Night films and they give you a copy of the script, but it says your name across every page in the background in lighter face type. Mm-hmm. That would be smart.
Yeah.
But, well, you could also just do what Comey did and write a memo about it and then give it to your friend.
Right.
And tell them to leak it and get it out. But no, I mean, I do think some of it has gotten out. That's why you saw these stories in the New York Times and the Washington Post trying to run cover on a few things. But maybe not, because this is what gets confusing. Since there's 2 IG reports, people are speculating that the New York Times and the Washington Post were running interference and trying to seed a narrative about the spying that was going on the Trump campaign. But that's the second IG report. So unless that somehow crosses into the first one, I don't really see why they were tipped off and why they're feeling the need to do this right now. But it's just bizarre. Yeah. I mean, the one Washington Post headline was so funny. It's like
they're out to protect Trump.
Yes.
I'm paraphrasing.
No, I've got it, because I didn't know if you knew this, Fingers, but if you have an Amazon Prime account, you can get the Washington Post for free.
Oh, I didn't know that.
For 6 months, and you just have to set a reminder to cancel it. But yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, their headline was, the FBI didn't use an informant to go after Trump. They used one to protect him.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, it's so funny. It's so absurd. And then there's all this quibbling in the press about what's a spy and what's an informant, and we have to get into these semantical arguments, and we can't possibly release the name of this person because it's going to be, they're just going to drop dead. Mm-hmm. They're going to be murdered. But yeah, the chick that wrote the Washington Post, I think it was this piece. Yeah, Asha Rangappa. She tries to play this game of, it would be very dangerous for this person. And she asserts, which is totally ridiculous, that it's probably some Russian. So she says, to obtain information about Russia's intentions and methods, the FBI would have had to use someone who would not raise red flags if their interactions with campaign officials got back to Russia. So there is high likelihood that this person is someone already familiar to Russian intelligence, and possibly someone who was already in Russian business or organized crime circles, which all have links back to the Russian president, which means the source would be in potential danger if discovered. Wrong. We all know now, even though the Democrats are still putting up a stink that Nunes wants more information about this, everybody's outed this guy at this point. He's not a Russian. He's an American. So this idea that he'd be in danger, they're like, Vladimir's going to poison him if it gets out who it was. No, it's some guy. He worked in the Nixon administration, the Ford administration, and the Reagan administration. Deep CIA ties, deep MI6 ties. He's now a professor at Cambridge, I believe. And he's just wandering around the campaign. And he's like, what do you guys know about Russian emails? Yeah, it's so ridiculous.
I'll know that there were Russians that were heavily involved in trying to influence our election if there are people on our side of the pond being poisoned. Like if you got 3 guys in D.C. that have been poisoned recently.
Polonium. Oh, but it could be the Clintons just trying to cast aspersions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's just so ridiculous. Yeah, it was probably some Russian. No, it's an old spook who's a Bushy. Mm. Yeah, so I'm sure they had to twist his arm.
Oh, good God. No, it's funny. I don't know if you want to bring up this MS-13 stuff or not.
Sure.
But the reaction, not only from the mainstream media, but then some people who are supposedly on the right. I don't have the tweets in front of me, but again, with the pearl clutching and the feigning couches about calling anyone an animal. Oh, we can't dehumanize these people. I'm sorry. I give Sarah Huckabee a lot of credit for when the press tried to question her on that. She said, well, you know what? I think that's not going far enough.
Yeah.
You have someone that stabs someone 100 times and cuts their heart out of their body. How do you describe that person? It's an animal. But to see the tweets and from the New York Times, and I can't remember who else it was that made it sound like he was just talking about some undocumented immigrants.
Oh, yeah. No, they love to play this game. He means all undocumented immigrants. Yes, that's exactly what he means. And, you know, I'm a huge fan of Scott Adams, and I listen to he's now translated his Periscopes into podcasts. If I don't see the Periscope, I listen to the podcast. And he talked about this in the context of the video that went crazy viral of, do you hear Yanny or do you hear Laurel? Mm-hmm. To use that as an example of, like, we can hear the same thing but come away thinking we heard two different things. Mm-hmm. And he's like, this is what's going on with this animal thing. Everybody that already believes that he's an awful, terrible racist that hates Mexicans and immigrants and all these things, they're going to see that and be like, nope, he meant all immigrants. And you're like, no, you can look at the context and understand he's answering a question that was asked specifically about MS-13. And I know the press cut up the clip, so you don't hear that question being asked because they're disingenuous assholes. But they also all believe that the side that says Trump really hates all these people.
Right.
And I saw this morning, your favorite Governor Granholm is on there, and she's doing the same thing. She's like, well, we all know that he said all Mexicans are rapists. So it's like, no, he didn't. Never said that. And if you take it to the absurd, which is, Scott Adams pointed this out, he's like, did you really think that he meant that? Do you think that he meant that the babies that are coming across the border, they're rapists? Does that make any sense? What about the women? Like, were they all rapists? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You people have hallucinated this. And they stack up these hallucinations on top of each other and point to it and say, oh, it's a pattern.
Right.
Therefore, he's racist. And so that's what this had to mean. It couldn't be that he's talking about one of the most deadly gangs on the planet.
I mean, they've taken over cities. There are stories of all places, Long Island, where MS-13 just dominates. And you read this stuff and you think, this can't be happening in America.
Right.
And it is. And if you point that out, you're a racist.
You hate all immigrants.
Yeah, and you hate all immigrants.
Well, it's what they do. They have to go to the absurd, the absolute absurdity of everything. So you think all immigrants? No, I didn't say that. I said this specific group of people.
And that's where there's also a disconnect between the Republican elites and the rest of the country. For years, leading up to President Trump's run in the primaries, they would do these polls to ask the American people, what's the number one issue? Mm-hmm. What's your number one issue? What are you most worried about? And immigration would never hit the top 10. And so people will say, oh, well, immigration's not important to people. Immigration is extremely important to people. It's just that they've been so apathetic about it because both parties like the current system the way it is. Mm-hmm. So when you had a candidate come along and say, yeah, you know what? I think it's wrong. Right. People are just flooding over the border illegally, and our government does nothing about it. And all of a sudden, this guy, people are taking him seriously. Like, wow, this doesn't sound like lip service. This sounds like a guy that means something. And wow, he wrote that and a few other things to the White House. And people still don't get it in Washington and in the media. Mm-mm. It's like, what, these people just hate brown people. That's what it is. Well, no. I just am upset that there's a Democratic Party out there, one of the two major political parties that's fine with people breaking the law. Mm-hmm. I'm not allowed to break the law.
No.
I got to play by the rules. Why does the federal government demand that I play by the rules, but then some other people because you could score some political points. It's okay for them not to play by the rules. Well, bullshit. It's not right. I've got 2 friends. It took them 4 years, over 4 years, to get into this country legally. And guess what? One of them he's Arab. Dun dun dun.
Oh wow.
I'm not against immigration, but if you say, you know what, I'm not for this. I don't want people just flooding over the border. Oh, you're a racist. You hate all immigrants. And they've successfully, in a lot of quarters, been able to lump illegal aliens and immigrants, legal immigrants, together. And it's disgusting.
No, it's insane. And then when you point out that there's all this violence that comes along with this, because imagine that, Fingers, people that are willing to break immigration laws don't respect the rest of our laws.
Right.
What a weird concept.
It's crazy.
Who would have ever thought that? But you've got them out there now on the left running cover for these guys and saying what you were saying. You can't dehumanize these people. Like they have been arguing that for you. Don't call them illegal. Don't call them aliens. I don't know if you've ever seen your friends, if are they now citizens?
Yes, both of them.
Because if you are in the process, so say you have your green card. Have you ever seen a green card?
No, I never asked. I thought that would be wrong on my part to ask my Arab friend for his green card.
Oh, I've asked. And I believe it says my alien card on it.
Oh,
That's
does
what
it?
we call legal. Yes. Yes. That's what we call people that are going through the legal process.
Wow.
So I asked my friend whose card it was, are you offended by this? And it was greeted with laughter. No.
Look, this is just when you think the Republican Party is so incompetent that they're going to lose the House and the Senate. You've got lefties out there. What is their platform going to be? We want to raise taxes. We want to make sure that people aren't calling MS-13 folks. Bill O'Reilly calls them folks. You don't call them animals. And what's the other one? That it's like, okay, you're going to run on that.
And net neutrality. They want that back.
Net neutrality and gun control.
Yes, these are winning issues.
I mean, they're winning issues if you're a commenter on Vox posts.
Yeah.
They're winning issues, but unfortunately for them, it's not. Those aren't mainstream views.
No.
But hey, run on them.
Yeah, please, by all means.
Good Lord.
You know that they'll cut up that animals thing and put that in ads.
Oh, sure.
And there are enough people that believe it because of the pattern that they believe exists. Or they'll just say, oh, he really meant it, though. I mean, that's what he really meant. It doesn't matter that he was only talking about MS-13. We all know that he thinks all Mexicans are rapists.
Well, right-wingers, they have their special way of talking to each other.
Yes, the dog whistles.
Yes.
That's what this all is.
So that was the latest shitstorm.
Yes. I think that was the only shitstorm this week.
I mean, to the point where there are clips of Glenn Beck putting on a "Make America Great" hat.
Oh God, that was
Make
so
America
pathetic.
Great. Yeah.
Well, it's better than his 1949ers panning for gold hat, or 1849ers, excuse me, when he was running around. You know, God spoke to him, and Ted Cruz and all that nonsense in the primaries. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things. It's very interesting. Look, Glenn Beck is a gifted broadcaster. When he was on Fox, I would actually tune into his show from time to time, and I don't watch cable news. But the things, I don't know if he has ADD. He's very easily distracted. It's like, okay, at 1 minute he is doing his show on Fox, and he's got a nationally syndicated radio talk show. Next thing you know, he's making jeans.
Yeah.
He's buying Tokyo Rose's microphone. It's like, what's going on here? What happened? So, and now you had the blaze. It was huge, and people on the right looked to that thinking, okay, with a lot of hope, thinking, oh wow, this may really turn into something. And now it's all kind of crumbling. To see him, I always hesitate criticizing him because back in the FTR radio days, he was good to us, you know, from time to time.
It's not to say that he's not a nice person.
But when he came out and you know, basically said that maybe the Tea Party was racist.
Yeah.
He kind of lost me. Like, okay. Wow, that's really you spoke at these rallies, you got to know these people.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're saying that maybe it was racist. It's like, oh, I don't know what to do with that, but it was extremely disappointing to see him put that red hat on. It's funny as hell. Like, oh, really?
Yeah, and it's because of the treatment of the media.
Yeah.
That was it, you know.
So.
Not that he's accomplished a whole bunch of things or on Glenn Beck's wish list.
Did you see, I would talk to someone over at FreedomWorks this week.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the bill that Rand Paul brought to the Senate?
No.
I don't know if it was. I have it in front of me. Basically, he was proposing a 1% budget cut.
Oh, the penny plan.
Yeah, the penny plan. He could only get 22 or 23 Republicans to vote for it. I looked at my Republican senator here, Senator Young, voted against it. Like, why will I vote for these people ever again? Why would I? And the thing is, if there's a bloodbath in November during the midterms, all these people inside the Beltway will blame Trump.
Yes.
And I'm like, well, no, actually, I can't vote for my senator. If he can't say, you know what, next year we're going to spend 99 cents instead of $1.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we can't do that. It's too extreme.
It's the sequester all over again.
I'm done. I'm done with this party. So I sit back and, you know, when Trump is cartoonish and these people who will tell you that Mitch McConnell is a great Senate Majority Leader and you just don't understand how difficult it is. I just sit back with my feet up on the desk, eating popcorn and laughing my ass off.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing's a joke.
It totally is. And it's being revealed as such more and more every day.
Yeah. Well, what else do you want to talk about?
Well, my favorite court case in all of this mess, the Russian troll farm case,
mm-hmm.
There was a new development. They were back in court this week. And the attorneys got in a little bit of a fight.
You broke up on me. I'm sorry. What was the first part of that?
I said the attorneys got in a little bit of a fight.
Over what?
Oh, over discovery. So our buddy, I believe we renamed him Eric Dublier. We named him Eric Bublé.
Yeah.
So he's the one representing Concord Management against the government attorney. So this was a piece that was in Politico. So fireworks at Wednesday's hearing came after one of the defense lawyers, Mr. Bublé, complained to Friedrich, who's the judge in this. This is a Trump-appointed judge, and this is their first time in front of this judge. Her name is Dabney Friedrich. When Bublé said that the government hadn't responded to or even acknowledged more than 70 discovery requests he made last month. Instead, prosecutors have offered a massive quantity of social media data from accounts that were allegedly set up under fake identities for the purpose of influencing American politics.
Screen grabs from the internet?
Well, and this is funny because it was reported that it's either a terabyte or 2 terabytes of information. And I can't remember which lefty outlet ran it to make it seem like a big deal. They were like 1 trillion bytes of information. Like, okay, we all know what a terabyte is, guys. Let's just call it that, but we have to make it all scary. So here's Bublé. He said, we had a brief call on Friday initiated by the government. He said prosecutors told him much of the information was in Russian, but they had no translations. So Boublier said, how do you know what's in it then? This is what the government's putting forth as their evidence. A trillion bytes of information, but it's all in Russian. Mind you, these are the accounts that are supposed to have swung or been used in the American election. And it's a terabyte worth of tweets and Facebook posts in Russian?
Listen, there are plenty of people in Wisconsin, Tracy, who are fluent in Russian, who go to Russian Facebook pages to get their election news. Everyone knows that.
So Boublier continues, I anticipate we're going to get this massive dump of social media accounts in Russian. This is an American court. This is not what we've asked for, and what I'd like to get is information that actually helps us defend our client. So the prosecutor that's there on behalf of the government, Jenny Rhee, disputed that prosecutors were being recalcitrant. She said they'll get what they've asked for. This is not a data dump, Your Honor. She said that the social media accounts in question were a key part of the effort to interfere in the 2016 election. The accounts that are speaking in Russian. So she says, and it's so voluminous just underscores the vastness of the offense conduct in this case. What? So we're giving you all this bullshit in Russian that you can't read and telling you that's our case. This is so incredibly pathetic. So apparently... So Rhee then tried to bait our friend Boublier. So she says they had a call about this, I guess. And she says defense counsel hung up and ended the call within 9 minutes, adding that an hour had been set aside for the talks. And she said the government doesn't want to raise these issues for the purposes of he said, she said.
But he said, she said.
Yeah. So Boublier comes back at her. He says, Boublier came back to the lectern to call Rhee's account demonstrably false, saying that each side asked whether the other had anything further to say before disconnecting. He said, that's different than hanging up the phone on somebody, and I resent the implication that the special prosecutor has made. So how pathetic is this?
He hung up on me.
Yeah, he totally did. We said we'd hand over 1 trillion bytes of information. Yeah, so what if it's in Russian? It totally swung the election in favor of Trump. Yeah.
What a waste. Yeah,
it's so ridiculous.
We need to figure out, we're press, right?
Yeah.
Let's go with that. We need to get access to that courtroom. I want to sit back and listen to all this.
Right. I do too. Popcorn, baby.
Yeah, it's got to be the best reality TV show ever.
It would be fun to stand up and cheer when that kind of stuff went down.
Do the Arsenio Hall whoop, whoop, whoop,
yes. We'd probably get held in contempt. Well, they're back in court on June 15th, so.
Well, we got to find out where that
road
courtroom
trip
is. Yeah.
Let's see. It's in D.C.
Oh, God. That means you'd have to go to D.C.
That's fine.
Who wants that?
We can do it. We can stay out drinking all night and roll into the courtroom in the morning.
Excuse me, press.
Yeah. Get fedoras with a little card that says press on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're here on the troll side. But what kind of balls does the government have to be like, oh, yeah, here's federal prosecutors. We've got you a terabyte worth of information that's all in Russian. Proves our case. No, we haven't had anybody translate it.
A percentage-wise.
Yeah.
Let's go with, try to guess how many people in the United States can speak Russian.
I bet it's not even 1%.
That made the difference, Tracy.
Maybe that would be 3 million people. Could be close.
Yep. And there are, of those 3 million people, they had to be on the right Facebook pages, and they had to be following the correct Twitter accounts to get all this information.
Right. Well, and I've been following this pretty closely. They put out all the Facebook ads that they say were bought. They're in English. What is this that they're saying? Oh, here it's a terabyte worth of stuff in Russian. The hell is that?
Wow.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if that case gets thrown out.
And if it does, it'll be on page 18 of the,
Right.
the New York Times, Washington Post.
I watch MSNBC every morning because I find it entertaining, and I have not heard a word about this trial.
Of course not.
About these going to court. I watch CNN from time to time too. I like to see what's going on in the Yanny movie. Because I heard Laurel. I don't know what you heard.
I heard Laurel.
Although the clip that the White House put out that everybody was mad about.
Yeah.
Where it was, if you haven't seen it, it's different members of the administration listening to the clip and saying what they hear. In that, I heard Yanny.
I heard Laurel at home. I have my daughter, she heard Yanny. Then I went to, I was in a loud building where I had to have earplugs in, and someone played the clip, and I heard Yanny with the earplugs in and the loud noise around me. So how strange is that?
Very strange. And
I've been trying to recreate that.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to hear Yanny again, and I haven't been able to. Ever since then, it's been back to Laurel.
It's very strange, but it shows you that our brains perceive reality totally differently.
I don't have 10 minutes to make donuts. My day is jam-packed.
Damn it, I know I can hear Yanny again, given the right circumstances. No, I think if you put it into some of your audio software and then you drop it down into a lower, that's what I think it is. If it's like when you hear it at a, I don't know, how do I say that, Mr. Audio Engineer?
Frequency?
Yes, a lower frequency, it sounds like Yanny.
There was a piece out there, someone had done that. They manipulated the audio. And I don't have it in front of me. We talked about it on the Snark Factor, and I still didn't hear it. I still heard Laurel.
Interesting.
So, well, we're almost at an hour. Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
I had one more fun story now that I can read Washington Post stories.
Okay.
So, do you remember Arnie Duncan?
Refresh my memory.
He was the Secretary of Education under Obama.
Okay.
He's out with a brilliant idea. Let's boycott schools until gun laws change.
Oh my God.
So he published, it says, former Education Secretary Arnie Duncan pushed a radical idea on Twitter. Parents should pull their children out of school until elected officials pass stricter gun control laws. So he's advocating truancy. But also, these people are obsessed with schools, right? Oh, public schools, everybody needs to go to them. They're wonderful. Mm-hmm. But now we're pushing pull your kids the hell out of school.
I'm all for that.
Me too. Shut them down.
Yeah.
Because you know what the one thing that all the school shooters had in common?
No. What is that?
They all went to public school.
Oh, well, there's that. Yeah.
It's amazing. Why are our public schools turning kids into shooters? I don't know. It's a question I've never heard anybody ask.
Wow. Well, yeah, I have 2 children. I just don't have the resources to be able to homeschool them properly. So I send them to public schools, and I don't like it.
No.
There's some of the best public schools in the state of Indiana, but they're bombarded every day with leftism. Leftism? Sure, we'll go with leftism.
Yeah.
Progressive bullshit every single day. And I don't want to get too much into it, but there are just certain things that I'm amazed at. Like the middle school has an LBGTQ LMNOP club in middle school.
Uh-huh. What do they do in the club?
They try to promote an atmosphere of understanding, and they try to push back against hate.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know what that means, because they've redefined the word hate.
Mm.
I remembered what the definition of hate was 30 years ago, just like I remember what the definition of racism was 30 years ago. Now everything's confusing. The definition's fluid. It moves around. So now hate is just, wow, you know what? Maybe that couple could have found another baker. Just throwing it out there. Oh, you hate gay people. Oh, I do? I thought they could have found another baker? Really? I don't know. Seems like in that one couple in the Denver area, Denver seems to be the type of town where they could find many bakers.
Right. And why do you want somebody that dislikes you to bake you a cake?
Right. See, if the way I look at things, Tracy, is I would rather have a world where people show their bigotry outright for everyone to see.
I'm with you on that.
I mean, in the world of social media, of Yelp, if you are, say I own a barbecue joint, mm-hmm. and I am adamant that I will not serve Latvians. I hate Latvians. Maybe that's a bad example. I just like saying Latvians. It's fun mm-hmm. to say. But say I don't want to, I hate Indians. Okay. Mm-hmm. No, we'll go with Native Americans. Native Americans. I can't stand Native Americans. We won't go with the Indian, because I could confuse people by saying the Bollywood types. Mm-hmm. I hate Native Americans. So I open up this barbecue. I don't hate Native Americans, by the way. But and so I say I'm not going to serve Native Americans. If I'm fueled by hate and I'm running a barbecue joint, it's not going to be long before people find out I'm a bigot.
Yeah.
You look at the Yelp. People bombard
it
my Facebook. It wouldn't even
get to Yelp. It would be on the national news.
Yeah, I mean, look at that lawyer yelling at those people speaking Spanish in New York. Mm. Did you hear about that?
No.
There's videotape, and I didn't follow the story closely, so forgive me if I fudge the facts a little bit. But there was a lawyer that was caught on tape yelling at some people who were speaking Spanish in the store, and just said some racist things. So now, of course, everyone tracks down who is this guy? Who is he? And they're going. They show up in front of his house. These social justice warriors.
Oh my God!
With a mariachi band.
That's pretty clever.
It is clever, but
they're also saying that all people that speak Spanish are Mexicans.
I guess
mariachi is a Mexican thing.
Yeah. So
that's a little racist.
Yeah, but people find out pretty quickly.
Yeah. Oh, look at the Starbucks thing.
Yeah.
They're shutting down every Starbucks, was it, on the 29th?
Yeah.
So everybody can get sensitivity training, or what was it called? Unconscious bias training.
I believe they're doing it the day after
Memorial
Day, when everyone had a 3-day weekend and they need a coffee to fuel themselves to get back to work. They're shutting down that day.
So stupid. I don't know why you wouldn't do it in waves.
Right.
Or can't people come in on their off time? And I'm wondering, I want to drive by my local Starbucks and see if they're having the boot camp in the Starbucks.
That's a good question.
Well, I'm just hoping that somebody's infiltrated one of these so we can see video of what this training looks like.
Oh. Quick. Okay, this is what we need to do.
Mm-hmm.
We need to fill out a job application at Starbucks. we got what, 9 days?
Yeah. I did think about doing this. I really did. I'm like, oh, that would be fun. But Pennsylvania, I can't. The laws are that I can't go in and film them. So you have to be in a one-party consent state.
Oh, I'm in a one-party consent state.
Well, there you go. Mm. Go get your application in.
Yeah, I'll do that, and I'll use my iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
I hope nobody at Starbucks sees me filming it, and then they'll smash my iPhone with a hammer. That's what people do.
Yeah, I can't wait. Come on. The IG report has to include some discussion of that.
You would hope.
Yeah, the FBI just overlooks all this destruction of evidence. That's totally normal. Yeah, I think it was 13 Blackberries got the old hammer treatment.
Oh, Tracy, you just don't understand. That's how people destroy their phones.
Sure. That's what they do when you take your electronics to Best Buy and they have that recycling center. That's all that happens. Just smash them.
Well, one of those phones may have had 1 trillion bytes of Russian tweets on it. Who knows? Who knows?
1 trillion bytes.
Oh, okay. Well, we're over an hour. Are we done here?
Yes.
Remember, you can catch the Enough Already podcast on Stitcher, SoundCloud, TuneIn, iTunes, and YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where you can find us. I wanted to quickly thank Tony Katz for... I'm doing a weekly thing now, Tracy.
Oh, yeah?
On Tony Katz Today.
This is the part where I pretend that I didn't already know.
Yes. Tony does like 35 hours of radio a week. Mm-hmm. Something like 50 hours of radio. It's unbelievable. But no, he hosts the morning show there from 6 to 9. That's Tony Katz in the Morning News. And then he comes back from 11 to 1. All these times are Eastern. And he hosts Tony Katz Today. And every Friday I'm going to be on at 12:30 with a segment that we put together called You Took It Too Far.
Nice.
So, yeah. So that started on Friday. So if you're...
And how can the folks tune in and hear you?
Yeah, if you want to listen to it, go to WIBC.com. You can listen to the show there. Also, you can find WIBC on TuneIn. And I don't know if this will happen every week, but WIBC put that segment on their website. So you can check that out over at WIBC.com as well. So if you want to listen to the radio and you're in the Indianapolis area, tune in 93 WIBC. And if you are on the internets, go to WIBC.com and you can hear me every Friday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. Good times.
Mm-hmm.
Final thoughts, Tracy? Exactly.
I want to go bake my donuts.
You do that. All right. We'll be back next week with an all-new Enough Already.